Quick question before we start. Can you explain in one sentence why Angular is called a framework and React is called a library? If you can't, don't worry, most developers can't either. And that's the problem because this distinction is the reason Angular feels different from day one. Get it wrong, and every video after this one is going to feel like you are memorizing syntax instead of understanding a system. So today, no code, just 5 minutes to build a mental model properly once so you never have to relearn it. Here's a claim that might surprise you. Angular doesn't want you to make decisions. That sounds like a bad thing, right? Stick with me. By the end of this video, you will see why that's actually the whole point and why some of the biggest companies in the world bet their engineering teams on exactly that. Let's define the two words everyone uses but nobody explains. A library is a tool you call. You're the boss, you write your app, and when you need something, say rendering a list, you call the library to do that one job. React is a library. You bring your own router, your own state management, your own way of talking to an API. React only handles the view, everything else is your call. A framework rather flips that relationship. A framework calls you. It decides the shape of your app and you fill in the blanks it hands you. Angular is a framework. Routing built in, HTTP calls built in, forms built in, dependency injection built in. You are not stitching 5 different packages from 5 different maintainers. Angular already made that call for you. Now here's where it gets interesting because this is the part that trips people up when they move from React to Angular or vice versa. It's not a skill problem, it's not a mindset problem. And I'll show you exactly where that shows up in real code later in this series. But first, you need to see why teams choose this on purpose. With React flexibility, you get freedom, but freedom has a price. Every team ends up with a slightly different setup. Onboard onto a new React codebase and you are not just learning React, you're learning the team's opinions about routing, state and structure. 10 React codebases, 10 different approaches. Angular takes that variable away because the framework decides. Angular codebases tend to rhyme. Learn the pattern once and dropping into a different Angular project feels like starting over and more like walking into a familiar room where the furniture just rearranged. And that's exactly why the Angular shows up often in large teams and enterprise apps, such as banks, insurance companies, big internal tools. When dozens of developers touch the same code for years, consistency stops being a nice to have. It becomes the thing that keeps the code base from collapsing under its own weight. So if Angular hands you all this structure out of the box, what's actually inside that structure? What is this toolbox I keep mentioning about? That's the mental model I want to hand you right now, and once you have it, the rest of this playlist is just filling the details you already expect to be there. Picture Angular as a component tree with a full toolbox bolted into it. At the center, there are components. Components are small units of template plus logic nested inside each other to build your UI. So far, that's not wildly different from React, right? But wrapped around that tree, Angular hands you a router. So component become full pages. A dependency injection system so component can ask for services like something that fetches data instead of building that own logic itself. Automatic change detection so the view updates itself when your data changes without you writing the wiring. So the shift in thinking is this: it's not I write components and bring in libraries as I need them. It's I write components and plumbing already there waiting for me to plug in. And here's the thing, nobody tells beginners. Picking a framework isn't about which one is better. It's about the trade-off you're willing to live with for the next 3 years of your project's life. So let's make that concrete. Choose Angular when first, you want consistency across a team, especially a big one. Second, you'd rather inherit sensible defaults than make 10 architecture decisions before writing your first component. Third, you're building something meant to be maintained for years and not a weekend prototype. Fourth, you want TypeScript as a first-class citizen, not bolted after the fact. It seems like less freedom, more structure. But for a lot of real teams, that's not even a compromise. That's exactly why they sleep better at night. So here's your one sentence answer, the one from the start of this video. A library waits for you to call it, a framework calls you. Angular is the second one on purpose. Now knowing all that, what actually happens the moment you run ng-new and generate a project? What are you actually looking in that file structure and why does Angular insist on organizing it that way? That's next. Let's do quiet progress together, one concept at a time. So in the next video, which will be more interesting, make sure to subscribe this channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.